As you read from the title and probably the thumbnail of this video, the subject of this video is not an associated truggy. This is the Mayako MX8Te, or more accurately, the prototype MX8Te. Since I became a member of the Mayako performance community, I was given access to some prototype parts before they were released, like the floating servo mount you'll see on a few Mayako cars these days, including my own buggy. In this case, I was given access to the prototype truggy as well. Truth be told, I've had this truck in pieces in my work bin. I've been meaning to complete this truck for a little while, and due to some technical and financial difficulties, that's what's been holding me back. Truggies are expensive, you see. Before we get to the races though, why don't we take a look at the e-truggy itself. Now of course, being a prototype, some things have yet to be finished. The main two things on this truck that are not Mayako OEM are the arms and body posts, those being X-Ray and Associated respectively. There are some other parts that are also not Mayako OEM though. The rear brace is actually an AE turnbuckle, and the rear shock shaft is also an associated part, though the shock shaft is more of a tuning aid, and the recommended springs to start with are Techno 80mm springs both front and rear. Personally, I didn't have the correct springs for the rear, so I just threw on these Kyosho red rear buggy springs instead, and we'll see how they work. If you go for the nitro version though, then any number of fuel tanks will work, like the associated Kyosho and I think Serpent as well. Everything else like the chassis, gearboxes, shocks, and pretty much anything else you can think of are Mayako OEM parts. For electronics, it's kind of a mishmash of different oddball brands. There's a Mach 1 servo that I used in my buggy for a while, I'll be upgrading that when I can, the Coyote ESC that I used in my buggy for a while as well, and a Red's 2200 kV motor. Since we're going into the colder months, I didn't think a fan would be necessary, which is a good thing because my fan mount broke a little while ago. With the introductions out of the way, why don't we start the race day? The maiden voyage of this truggy would be at one of my local tracks, Loganville RC Complex, with a new layout. I've driven this layout before, but since there had been a bunch of rain the night prior, the track was in really rough shape in the morning. It took several hours and several people working on the track to get it up and ready. This kind of put a wrench in my plans of what tire I wanted to run. Now usually I run Ogo tires, but since Peach State Hobbies is no longer the North American distributor for them, I can pretty much run whatever I want. This ended up working to my benefit because my tire selection for truggy and Ogo tires is limited. For the first few runs I decided to run J-Concept Recons in the green compound. Now for the setup of the truck itself, I did have some knowledge to go off of regarding what to start with. Some of the Mayako designers had been driving this truck for over a year now. In short, my setup was 550 CST shock oil in front and rear with 6-hole pistons, Techno 80mm green springs in the front and Kyosho 83 red springs in the rear, -2 degrees of camber, diff fluids at 15-20-10 front to rear, and 35mm ride height in the front and 37mm in the rear. This is basically the setup I ran all day. Now, for the first practice run, the truck drove exceptionally well straight out of the gate. The truck felt relatively flat through the corners, and despite running buggy rear shocks, both front and rear, the truck handled the bumps and jumps extremely well. Unfortunately, I didn't get a good first run in the e-truggy due to something happening with the rear diff outdrives. In my lack of foresight and general lack of building etiquette sometimes, I put the center diff outdrives in the rear and the rear outdrives in the center. Because of this, during my first run in Q1, I unfortunately broke the outdrive during my second lap. Not a good start really. Unfortunately, I had a bit of trouble finding my own replacement outdrive, so I had to borrow some from Kevin Clark. Thank you, Kevin, for saving my race day with this thing. Unfortunately, this means that there wasn't much actual trackside footage of this car going around the track, as I really was scrambling to get this truck ready for round 2. The second round went pretty well actually, more or less like my practice session. It's important to note that this particular race day we were doing a different type of qualifying for a few reasons, mainly the imminent rain which did delay us a little bit later on. It's also why this race day was really rushed early on to try and beat the rain. We did not beat the rain. That didn't stop a lot of us from running though. So how exactly did the qualifying work and how exactly did the truck drive? Well, it was quite simple. You had 4 minutes to put down a fast lap and that fast lap would determine your place on the starting grid for the double mains. Since I was still getting to grips with how the truck drove, and because I had my power turned down to about 70%, my fast lap wasn't exactly fast. A 29.2 isn't bad, but it wasn't going to be enough if I had any shot of doing well in the mains. One of which you're seeing on screen right now. As for how the truck drove, I actually changed tires to these VP Pro Frontiers and they worked tremendously well on this really tacky and damp track. Once again though, I had my throttle down a lot because I thought a 2200 kV motor cranked up to 100% would be overkill. However, as you can plainly see, the truck just wasn't fast enough for the straight. In the end, I would end up in around the mid-pack after choking the last lap hilariously. So what about the second main? Well, this one I'd rather show than tell.
Alright guys, y'all ready? Okay. Alright, this is live in listen. Alright, looking like he's starting us out.
This is a little bit of an unfortunate start, but it didn't take us out completely.
Chester's holding on. Sean's hanging there in there with him too. Nobody's wrecked. Wow. Nice. Impressive. So D1, Chester 2, Salter 3. That's alright, just get back up on the track. You got one more upside and more upside now, Hawkins. Okay, so that's going to put pace to the 4, 7, 5, Lee 6, David 7. 1, 2, and 3 already coming down the middle of the track. Wow, 25-second hot lap. Woo! That's the fastest of the whole day, I believe, and I'm pretty much probably going to have to change. Let me go in here and change this just in case. Because I have to know on that set on 10.5. Let's see if it's each truck. Each truck, and I think it's 24. So back to racing. Okay. Okay. Alright. He's still holding on to the lead, but look at Chester. I mean, he is pushing, and so is Sean Salter. Blue green out there is going to be Kate Williams in that number 4 spot. Kevin's still holding on to the 5. Here comes Lee Flowers. Followed by David. Not Silver. D, there is no room for error. Chester is all over his back door, giving him a run for his money. And I mean, no room for error whatsoever between 1, 2, and 3. One wrong move, and it's going to go to anybody. Oh, D going off the sideline.
Once D-Nice made that mistake, I knew I had a chance to hunt him down. So I started to lock in and tried to click off some really fast laps.
See, y'all ain't Miss Brittany out there. And she got you back up in no time. And now D is back up to 1, 2, and 3 in no time. Alright, but there's D-Nice in that number 3 spot, followed by Kate Williams in that number 4. Kevin Tran down the front in that number 5 spot. Lee Flowers, upside down. Alright, and here comes your leader over the double. Getting stuck on the pipe. And look at Jordan Chester coming out of nowhere and already on his back door. And here comes D-Nice down the front straightaway. So Sean, there is no room for error right now because Jordan Chester is all over your back door.
Thank you, sir.
Uh-oh. He's got to play it smart.
2 minutes left.
Every lap or so, I was about a quarter of a second closer to D-Nice, and that would be enough if the race was longer, but this one was only 7 minutes long, so I did need to pick up the pace a little bit.
Right, here comes Kate Williams, followed by Kevin Tran. Alright. What's going on with David? Oh, there he goes. Alright, Lee Flowers who said it broke. So just hold on to it. Survival of the fittest out here. Mark Moon, we need you over the podium, and you need to let them know who takes CQ 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, Sean upside down. Where's D-Nice? Oh, D-Nice right now in front of Sean Salter.
At this point, I was basically banking on the fact that D-Nice or Sean Salter might make a mistake and I could go on past them. We'll see how that shakes out for this last lap.
It's on right now. This is it. Your leader in the middle of the track. D holding on to that number 2 spot right here, that solid white with the green.
Lee Flowers done.
Goes down the front, followed by Sean Salter, one wrong move, and Sean goes back. Oh no, Sean upside down. So is that going to get Kate Williams position? And it does.
Sean Salter done.
Woo! Lord. No, that's a good race.
Kevin Trent
All right, Mark Moon, y'all go over and meet Mark Moon over at Cody.
All drivers are finished. David Everett done.
Good job, good man. Good job.
In the end, I managed to snag a third overall, this time with a fast lap of 27.2, 2 seconds faster than my qualifying time. Not bad for a prototype. Overall, the truckie did fairly well. Of course, this is its first outing, so I can't really comment on durability and how fast the truck wears, but I'll get to that another time. The truck had plenty of corner speed where I wanted it was easy to drive, and other than that outdrive, it did survive a cold night of racing. The big question is whether or not it's better than other truggies. Personally, I like how the Mayako drives compared to other truggies on the market right now, especially other C-Hub truggies including the Techno. Of course, since the truck is a prototype as of now, I can't really recommend it for a beginner because unless you're an NPC member or plan to be one, you can't really run it yet. As for when this truck is released publicly, I'm not 100% sure, but I will be here cataloging its progress. And with that, we've reached the end of the video. If you made it this far, be sure to hit the like/hype button and subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. Also, if you want to support me another way, you can become a channel member or patron. Speaking of which, I'd like to thank my active patrons Michael Williams, Dave Armstrong, Rob Bettingfield, Caden Merks, Ian Petrie, Jeffrey Kunz, Shane T. Ruth, Gable Barber, Freeman Racing Team, and my channel members Jeffrey Kunz again, Ralisk86, Claymore RC, Brian G, Matthew Armini, and Skylar Nichols. And especially, Morrison Watt. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.